All right. Welcome to our team call today. Sorry, I'm kind of in a shadow, I just realized, but um, a bunch of us are coming off of the reset. How are you feeling? If you did the reset, let us know. I know Liska lost 7 pounds. Was that right? Am I saying it right? I was talking to like 3 different people today. And her husband lost a bunch of weight and he broke through a barrier that he hasn't been able to break through for a long time. And I had another girl that did the reset that was like the same way. She's like, I have been stuck at this weight. I was clean eating for 30 days, didn't lose a single pound. And now she's down 5 pounds and she's not on this team call. Her name's Crystal. Let's see. Krista says 6.2 pounds. Sorry guys, those are my kids. Husband and her both, Liska's husband and her both lost 7 pounds. So pretty fun, you guys. I love watching people be able to break through barriers in their weight when they've stayed the same for a long time and they haven't been able to lose weight. It's pretty incredible to see. Let's see, Teresa, I lost 8 pounds. Oh my gosh, feeling great. I know, I feel so good too. And I definitely crave healthier foods when I just broke my fast yum. Yes, I crave healthier foods. Hey, I need you guys to stop yelling. Go help dad turn on a movie right now. So I crave healthier foods. Like I really struggled at the beginning of the year after doing antibiotics. I had the worst cravings I've had since I started Plexus, and it's taken me a while to get back. And I feel like I'm finally getting control of those cravings, which is so awesome. And I posted something in my stories yesterday that said, like, you can lose weight to be healthy, or you can be healthy and you'll lose weight. And I truthfully believe that as we are healthy and as we're giving our body what it needs and resting our gut, I believe that like weight loss is a byproduct of just being healthier and nourishing our body. So, all right. So today, you guys, a lot that I want to share with you from this book. Okay. I've been talking about this book, Success is a Choice. And I want to share a little bit from this along with my experiences. But there was one part in particular that really, really stood out to me. And I'm pretty sure I've heard this story before, but reading it just, reinforced what I read. So I'm going to just kind of read it from you. Hey, buddy, you going to help me? Okay. Don't bump my ear, okay? Okay, so he talks a lot about talent versus like developing yourself and your skills. And I thought this was really interesting because a lot of times we see people that just have talent, right? And we're just like, oh, they naturally just have it. I've talked about this before. I think on like last week's call, I talked about thinking some people just have the it factor and you just don't have it. And there's nothing special about you and you just can't do it. Like a lot of these beliefs get in our way. And so he starts off by saying this, and then I'll tell you the story. He says that he's quoting somebody, and I can't say the guy's name because it's weird, but he says, have success and there will always be fools to say that you have talent. When people achieve great things, others often explain their accomplishments by simply attributing everything to talent. But that is false and misleading, a misleading way of looking at success. If talent alone were enough, then why would you and I know highly talented people who are not highly successful? And then he quotes Peter Drucker and says, there seems to be little correlation between a man's effectiveness and his intelligence, his imagination, or his knowledge. Intelligence, imagination, and knowledge are essential resources, but only effectiveness can convert them into results. By themselves, they only set limits to what can be contained. And I love that because like when I got started and I saw, the diamonds and the jewels in the company, I literally just believed that they were talented, they were special, and they had something that it took that I didn't. And now I'm learning that I am able to develop myself. You guys, I want you to go out. It's just too loud. Can you please go out? Matt, will you call the boys, please? It's just not true. Some of the most talented people in the world never become successful people. You guys, I know a lot of really talented women, and I've talked about this so many times where you see something in them and you are just like, oh my gosh, they could be a diamond. You like see all the success, but they do nothing. They don't want to do anything, right? They want to stay home and be with their kids, and there's nothing wrong with that, but they don't want to develop those skills and those talents, and they don't care about being successful. So it really doesn't necessarily correlate, because I believe that the heart is where what matters the most. That somebody that is driven and that wants it will far outperform somebody that is just talented. Okay, thank you. Okay, so I also believe that oftentimes it's our circumstances that we're grown up into that develop our beliefs of what is possible for us. And that will, let's see. Okay, I'm getting off topic, sorry. Okay, so he also said this in the book, and I thought this was so interesting, okay? More than 50% of all CEOs of Fortune 500 companies had C or C minus averages in college. Okay, go say and stop interrupting me. I love you. 65% of all US senators came from the bottom half of their school classes. 75% of US presidents were in the lower half club in school. More than 50% of millionaire entrepreneurs never finished college. Clearly, talent isn't everything. So what makes the difference? And I love that, because you guys, I've told you guys this before, and I don't know who all has heard this or not, but I grew up believing that I was stupid. Okay. I grew up in a poor family. My mom had depression. My dad struggled a lot with self-confidence. Okay, so I've actually been wanting to share this story on my platform and with you guys for a long time. I know that's cool. Matt, will you please call Leo? Leo, go in the other room and watch a movie right now. Matt, will you please call Leo? Go. So I've been wanting to share this story. Okay, go outside. Go outside, please. Okay, quiet then. So I've been wanting to share this story for a long time. You guys, this is summer and running a business from home. You just got to expect it, right? So, because I've been thinking a lot about how a lot of times, like, our upbringing, kind of makes us create this belief about our abilities and our talents and what we're capable of and what our potential is, and really like whether we're worthy. And I don't think that anybody is more worthy than the other. So I was talking to my dad a month ago, and he told me this story that I think I vaguely remember hearing as a little girl, but I hadn't heard it in a long time. And it actually brought me to tears, like when I listened to him. And I've been wanting to share this for a while, but I haven't, because it's like so much to put into words, and I don't know if I can even explain it in the right way, but I'm going to share it with you right now. So my daughter is this really good runner. Okay. When she runs, she gets first place or second place. Like, she's so fast and so good. And she won this big race that she did for Girls on the Run a couple years ago. And since then, she hasn't wanted to run. So she suddenly just doesn't want to run anymore. And she's like, I'm not good at it anymore. I'm not fast anymore. Like, she's somehow just built this belief around the fact that she's not good enough or talented enough, or that she can't win, or it's too much pressure to win, like whatever it is. And so my dad was telling her, because my dad was a runner when he was younger, and he said, well, when I was a young boy, I got made fun of a lot. And I still remember this girl walking up to me and saying that I was the ugliest person she has ever seen. And she took her pencil and she stabbed it into my hand. And I still have a piece of lead in my hand that still bugs me to this day. And he got bullied a lot. And he talked about how much he has struggled with his confidence and his belief in himself. And then suddenly he decided, to run in something at school. You know how like they do like races at school, and the track and cross country coach said, "You're really good. I want you to come run." And so he went to go run track with him. And at his first race, he just started running. He didn't have a lot of training at this point. Like, he ran on his own a little bit, but like he hadn't really ran in front of the school yet. And so he gets out on this long distance run around the track, and he starts running, and he is like passing everybody. And then he starts lapping everybody. And he said that there was a field set up, and there was like baseball players, and there was cheerleaders, and there was like tennis courts. And literally everybody that was doing their own sports stopped, and they turned and they started gathering, and there was this big, massive crowd watching him. And he was on his last lap. He had passed everybody, and his coach was on the sideline, and his coach said, "Richard, if you continue at this pace," oh, I don't know why this makes me so emotional. He said, "Richard, if you finish at this, continue at this pace, you're gonna break the world record time." And my dad said, as he rounded the last bend, he just passed out and just like dropped, and he blacked out. And when he woke up, there was all these people around him, and he said he was so embarrassed. He was embarrassed that everybody was watching him, because he always had this negative belief about, the way that he looked, and that people thought he was ugly, and that he was a failure and everything. And he just had this negative feeling, this embarrassment. And he looked at my daughter, and he said, "I never tried again. I never pushed myself like that again. I stopped trying because I was so embarrassed and afraid to fail." And I just thought, wow, that is so interesting that my dad had all of this potential, but he wasn't willing to try again. And he really never pushed himself, you guys. And if you knew my dad, you would know that my dad has always accepted mediocrity and just trying to just kind of like blend in, because he didn't want to stand out. And it breaks my heart, because my dad had all this potential. And then in his married life, this was 4 years before I was born, he got his foot cut off in a motorcycle accident where somebody came up and rear-ended his motorcycle, and his foot flung out, and it hit a reflector on those reflectors on the side of the road. It hit a reflector, and the reflector literally just like sliced his foot off. And they sewed it back on, so he still has a foot. He doesn't have a prosthetic, but he, after that there was just always this excuse. There was this excuse that, see, I have a reason not to be active. I have a reason not to push myself. I have a reason not to move my body, or to run, or to ride a bike, or anything like that. And he gained all this weight, and he sits around and complains all day. Okay, I'm sharing this with you because this is something that's been really hard for me, to see my dad literally forfeit all of his potential and his passion because he was afraid to fail. And he looked at, like, when he looked at my daughter and said, "Don't do what I did," it really like hit me hard, and I started to cry. And I realized that I'm the one that's breaking that cycle in my family, that is going to do the things that everybody else was scared to do. And that my why is so much deeper than just making money or hitting a weight. It's to tap into my full potential, and to show my children that that's possible for them too. Because if I don't believe that I can do it, then what example am I being to them that they can do it? You know what I mean? And so there's been a lot of situations with my parents and in my life where I've realized, like, I'm the one that has to break these cycles. I'm the one that has to step up and to grow and to show a new path. And so when I was reading in this book, this is what I started with, and I was going to read this to you. I was reading this story that he shared about an eagle, and it reminded me so much of my dad and so many people's experiences of why they believe that they're not capable of doing great things. Okay, so I'm just going to read it because I feel like it'll be more impactful. Okay, this is written by, he's speaking at convention, John C. Maxwell, and he's quoting somebody in this. So he's quoting, his name's Dick Vermeil. He said that he chatted with him, and this is what he said. He said, we can measure many of their skills. This is a coach. He says, we can measure many of their skills, but it's impossible to measure the heart. Only the player can determine that. And that immediately reminded me of my dad, of like where his heart was and where he believed he was and what he thought was possible for him. Okay, so then he goes into talking about this story. He says, your potential really is up to you. It doesn't matter what others might think. It doesn't matter where you came from. It doesn't even matter what you might have believed about yourself at a previous time in your life. It's about what lies within you and whether you can bring it out. I think it's so impactful because I think my dad had the ability to break the world record inside of him, but he wasn't able to bring it out. Like he had that talent, but he didn't do it because of fear or because of a belief in himself. He says there's a story about a farm boy from Colorado who loved to hike and rock climb. One day while climbing in the mountains, he found an eagle nest with an egg in it. He took the egg from the nest, and when he got home, he put it under a hen along with her other eggs. Since the eagle hatched among the chicks, he thought he was a chicken. He learned chicken behavior from his mother and scratched in the chicken yard along with his siblings. He didn't know any better, and when he sometimes felt a strange stirring within him, he didn't know what to do with them, so he ignored them or suppressed them. After all, if he was a chicken, he should behave like a chicken. Then one day, an eagle flew over the farm. See if I can turn my page, sorry. And the chicken yard eagle looked up and saw him. In that moment, he realized he wanted to be like the eagle. He wanted to fly high. He wanted to go to the mountain peaks he saw in the distance. He spread his wings, which were so much larger and stronger than those of his siblings, the chicken siblings. Suddenly, he understood that he was like an eagle. Though he had never flown before, he possessed the instinct and the capabilities. He spread his wings once more and he flew, unsteadily at first, but then with a greater power and control. As he soared and climbed, he knew he had finally discovered his true self. That story reminds me of my dad. It reminds me of so many people that I have seen that have untapped potential that shy away from it out of fear or out of belief that they can't do it, that they don't have what it takes because they were raised with chickens, right? Like I oftentimes feel like in my family, like as much as I love my blood family, I feel like I was an eagle that was born into a family of chickens. You guys, please understand where I'm coming from because I know that can sound very judgmental. But my family does not push themselves. And they have a lot of beliefs about their life and about their capability and about their worth and about who they really are. And it breaks my heart because my family actually has a tremendous amount of talent. Okay. I've been told all growing up, your mom is so talented. Like she can make anything beautiful. Like she's an artist. She can paint and she can draw and she can do these beautiful flower arrangements and she can make a beautiful garden, all these things. But she's never really like lived up to that potential because of her mindset and her mental health. Okay. And so I feel like I've always been attracted to eagles since I was a very, very little girl. In fact, in art class, I drew an eagle and I've always been obsessed with them. And so when I read this, I was like, oh my gosh, I'm the eagle. And you guys, I believe that many of you are an eagle in your family too, and that you want to make a difference and an impact and you want to grow and you want to live out to your potential. But deep inside, those little whisperings that you're just a chicken and there's nothing special about you and that you're not capable and you're not talented enough is what's holding you back from believing that you can really, really create what you want and what's on your heart. There's another quote in here by a psychologist and a philosopher, and he says, there is but one cause of human failure, and that is a man's lack of faith in his true self. So anyways, there's so much in this that I could share. I don't want to take up too much time, but I've just had this strong inkling on my heart to like let you know that it doesn't matter where you came from. It doesn't matter what skills you have. It doesn't matter what talents you have. If you want something, they can't measure your heart. And I believe that your heart is what will make you a diamond one day. That is what will make you soar and to do things that feel impossible to other people. It is deep within you, but oftentimes there's an inkling to ignore that because we don't think we're worthy. We don't think we're capable. We don't think we're special. And I truthfully believe that each one of you is capable. I've shared this so many times before, but like I struggled a lot with education when I was little. Like I was in all the special classes. I was in special math. I was in special reading. I was behind in every class. I was in speech class. And I really grew up with the belief that I was just kind of stupid. Like I was the child that was behind. My mom homeschooled me until third grade. And when I went into third grade, I was behind. I remember them pulling out a big map of the United States. And I remember thinking, I don't think I've ever seen a map like that before. And all these kids were like, the teacher had this poll and she was touching like different countries and saying, what country is this? And like all the kids knew. And then they're like, she was like saying like stuff about the geographical whatever. And I was like, I have no idea. I remember sitting there and thinking, I don't know any of this. I'm dumb. I am behind. And I've never been diagnosed with like ADD or ADHD, but my sister recently has been diagnosed with it. And she was talking to me about it. And I was like, I think that I have like some kind of undiagnosed form of like ADD or ADHD, because when I was a little girl, and still to this day, you can ask my husband, when I am reading a book, if I read a sentence and somebody is talking, I have to read the sentence again. And if they talk again, or I hear a sound, I have to read the sentence again. And if they do it again, I have to read it again, and it won't make sense. And sometimes I have to read a sentence over and over, like 10 times. This is why I shied away from reading books for years, because I was like, I'm just dumb. Like I can't read and retain the knowledge. And then, like when I was I remember I was in 5th grade, and I remember still having to go to my teacher and be like, there's too many sounds in the classroom. I can't take the test because I don't understand. I can't read and like retain it and answer the question. And so she would have to read it to me at her desk when everybody else was doing their test by themselves. Like she would have to read it to me so that I could mark off the answer because it wouldn't make sense to me. So I've struggled with this belief my entire life that I am stupid, that I'm dumb, that I'm not capable, that I'm not smart. I remember when I started this business and Jess came along to do it with me, and like computer stuff just made sense to her. Like she would be doing stuff and I would be like, I don't understand. I don't get it. I don't know how to do that. You guys, so many times in our life, we let our limitations of what we believe about ourselves hold us back. Or maybe just the fact that if it was meant to be, it would be easier. And I truthfully believe that thought is holding you back. The thought that if you were meant to be a diamond, it would be natural to you and it would be easy. That is such a lie, you guys. It is a lie that life should be easy. It shouldn't be easy. And it's not easy. I truthfully believe that it isn't easy for any of the women that have hit diamond in this company, or anybody that has ever accomplished anything. And I believe that when we are on a mission to do something that matters, I believe that we will have opposition, and we will have people that doubt us, and we will have a lot of those like naysayers in the back of our mind making us believe that we can't do it. And it is all a lie. It was never meant to be easy. You are never meant to magically have it all figured out. You might have skills and talents in some areas, and other areas you might have weaknesses, but you can develop yourself and you can get there. He talks in this book also about how we are trying to focus so much on strengthening our weaknesses. He says, if I asked you who would be successful, the person who relies on his talent alone or the person who relies on his talent and develops it, the answer would be obvious. Then I'll ask you this question: why do most people spend the majority of their time focusing on strengthening their weaknesses? You guys, I'm always going to have certain weaknesses that I'm not good at. And if I spend all my time strengthening the things that I'm weak at, I'm not actually going to hone in and strengthen the things that I'm actually talented and gifted in, that are my unique abilities. And so he pretty much discourages you from working on your weaknesses, and he says to focus on strengthening your unique gifts and your talents. And I believe that's what makes this team strong. It makes us stronger when you guys bring your God-given talents and you strengthen them and you contribute them to our team, because your talents and your gifts are the things that I might be weak at. And like Jess coming along, her talents and her strengths are very different than mine. And that made my team stronger when she joined me, because they were things that I wasn't naturally good at. And I believe that my gifts and my talents are things that this team needs. And I believe that each one of you has a gift and a talent that if you hone in on, that is what will keep you growing. And that it always has to do with the heart behind it and the determination behind it. There's so much in this book that is so good, and I could literally just like draw off of it. Like I might just use it all summer just to like do trainings on here, because I truthfully believe that the business has so much more to do with your mindset around the way that you show up, and not necessarily the way that you're a leader or like that you have everything figured out or whatever, but it's the way that you show up in the belief of how you can do this, why you can do this, and the heart behind it. Like he said that the athletes, there's the talented ones, but you can't measure the heart. Okay. I wasn't naturally gifted and talented at business stuff, but you can't measure my heart. And it's honestly been the biggest setbacks and the struggles and my weaknesses that has given me the biggest heart to show up and to serve the people that are like I once was. Because we are the most equipped to bless and to lead and to guide the people that are like how we once were. Okay. The struggles that we have once endured and dealt with. So I hope that you guys know that you are capable of so much more in spite of all of the setbacks that you have had. You are capable of more. Do you have the heart to push through when it doesn't feel like you are talented or gifted enough or that you can do it? Do you have the heart to figure it out? Do you have the perseverance, the tenacity, the endurance, the depth inside of you to know that you are capable of so much more? I hope you will discover that for yourself, because truthfully, you're the only one that can discover your potential. Nobody else can. Like I can see all the potential in all of you, but you're the only one that can discover that for yourself. So, all right, Teresa, I don't even know what you're talking about, but I know that you've been asked to share some of the things that's working well for you, and I'm excited for you to share. So I would love for you to take it away.
Yeah, actually, funny story. I messaged Jessica about half an hour ago, and I was like, or not even half an hour ago, an hour ago, and I was like, did we decide that I was sharing? Because we had briefly said it, but then nothing was really determined. So here I am, kind of like last minute. But yeah, I wanted to talk about staying true to yourself, and then how in turn that leads to you sharing your truth and making it easier to share because of that. So last week I went to a girls' camp, and I was there with our church, and I was there with my daughter, my oldest, she's 14. And we were there, and like the second day that we were there, we were all told to go out into the woods away from everybody and just be completely by ourselves. And they said that we would take half an hour to do this, just all by ourselves. And immediately all the girls started like grumbling. They weren't allowed to take their phones. And as you know, teenagers are living for their technology. And so that was really hard for them. But as an adult, for me, I was like, this is going to be amazing. So I headed out into I went up this hill. I wanted to get a better view of, just everything down below. And we were told to write down what our core values were. And core values, I actually looked it up, but it says core values are an individual or organization's fundamental beliefs and highest priorities that drive their behavior. You can think of core values as an internal compass of principles that drive a person's or organization's decisions. It's wonderful to identify the core values driving you and try to unlock the core values driving the important people in your life. So I already had known what core values were. And so for me, I went into the woods and I ended up writing like 5 pages of different things that I want to work on and that that are my core values. I'm going to list off some core values, and I want you to ask yourself what, if that is something that you hold valuable to yourself. And if it is, then that is one of your core values. But there's honesty, integrity, wisdom, autonomy, loyalty, abundance, kindness, charity, respect, courage, generosity. That's only 11 off of the list. And this list has, let's see, it goes to, oh my gosh, it goes to 216. So there are so many different things that you can consider to be your core value. For me, at the top of my list, when I went into the woods and I was like listing off my core values, the first thing that came to my mind was that I really value, courage. That's something that I consider one of my core values. Kind of like Nicole. Oh, sorry, you guys. I did not want to get emotional. Kind of like Nicole, I also come from a really hard childhood. My parents were very limited in their beliefs, and therefore I grew up thinking that I was very limited in my beliefs. We didn't have a lot of abundance, and so I grew up thinking like, oh, that can never happen, right? That's just not a possibility for me. And so courage is at the top of my list because it takes so much in one single person to be that person in your family's life that changes the trajectory of your whole family. You know, like that's what I am doing right now. I've had a lot of setbacks in my business. I've had a lot of mental blocks that I've had to work through. But no matter what, I have found myself to be courageous and to work through those things. Right now I'm working through a lot of trauma and a lot of unresolved issues from my past. And it's been so helpful for me because now that I'm healing, I realize that I really am capable of so much more than I ever gave myself credit for. So with all of that, once I wrote down my core values and we headed back down to camp, the entire camp, I kept thinking about what I had written, you know, and I realized, so about 2 or 3 days ago too, over the weekend, I was cleaning my desk here at home, and I found my why that I had filled out for Plexus. And in my why, I realized that I mentioned my core values in there, and I didn't even know that. I hadn't really read it coming from a place of like wanting to see what my core values were. But when I read my why and I realized that everything that I want from this business is so that I can help others. And once I realized that, I was like, oh my gosh, they really are my core values. Like I didn't even realize that I had written this because I had written my why a couple months ago. And so for them to just connect like that, it was just like, oh, okay, so I am really, doing what I'm wanting to do. And so it's so hard for us to stick to our core values sometimes, though. I feel like sometimes people get in their heads. And especially when it comes to sharing a business, it's not easy at first and it can be awkward and you can feel kind of icky about it, but that's really just a mental block that you have to work through. For me, I had that, but it was because I felt like I didn't deserve any abundance that could come from this business. I felt like if I shared, people would just turn me down. And yeah, that happens, but a lot of the time when people say yes, it feels that much better. And it's just like so rewarding to, just share what's on your heart. And that's why I wanted to share, like by staying true to yourself, and then in turn, you share your truth. Um, I read, hold on here, I had some notes, but like I said, this was like kind of last minute. So I wrote, try thinking of sharing as sharing your love instead of sharing products. Because that for me has been a huge thing that I've worked towards these last couple of months. Instead of trying to think of it as like sharing products or sharing a business, I'm literally just doing it because I love these people. I want to help them. I want to see abundance in their life. I want them to be healthy. I want them to have answers to their health that they have been struggling for years. I have a new friend that signed up in January, and this last week she told me that her endocrinologist had cut her thyroid medication in half. And like, that's why I share. Like when she told me, I started crying because I was so happy for her, because I've known her since college and she's always struggled with her health, and to see her now happy and feeling so good. And like she's told me, like even her family has commented, they're like, you're a completely different person. Like, what are you doing? Um yeah, like what have you been doing? And she's like, honestly, I've just been taking these supplements and they've been helping me. And so for me, that's why I share, because like for me to get emotional about my friend feeling healthy, like that's what it's all about, because I really do want to help more people. Um, I had um I had read this quote and it was about orange juice, and I know it's so random, but I love this quote, and it's actually from a book written by Wayne W. Dyer. And he says, when you squeeze an orange, you'll always get orange juice to come out. What comes out is what's inside. The same logic applies to you. When someone squeezes you, puts pressure on you, or says something unflattering or critical, and out of you comes anger, hatred, bitterness, tension, depression, or anxiety, that's what's inside of you. If love and joy are what you want to give and receive, change your life by changing what's inside. So I love that quote so much because it's so true. My mom recently spent a lot of time in Mexico taking care of my grandma, who is slowly passing away. And during that time, I called her every day just to see how she was doing. Both my mom and my grandma. But I noticed that my mom has lots of negative talk, like lots of negative thinking in her head. And I would call her, and every day it was something else that was going wrong, something else was bothering her. And it was either, like the doctor didn't show up on time, or the medications that we're giving grandma like aren't working. Like there was just always these negative things. And one day during our phone call, I'm like, Mom, do you realize that when we talk, all you can tell me are all the negative things? And it just like stopped her dead in her tracks. And then she started crying, and she's like, oh my gosh, you're right. And then she's like, I'm so sorry that I've been doing that. Like, that's just how I've been feeling. And so with all the, you know, thought work and stuff that I've been going through, I started helping my mom. And every day I would just share like one positive thought with her, and I would help her to focus on what was going right. I was like, Mom, you're getting to spend like quality time with grandma in her last days. You are getting to see your siblings, spend time with them. You are learning something that you didn't learn before. You're knowing so much more about how to take care of somebody that's bedridden. Like, there are so many positives that came out of it. And once that happened, our phone calls completely shifted. She started talking about memories that she had with my grandma in such a good light. She was happy. She wanted to look forward to our phone calls. And then when my grandma finally passed away, my mom was so at peace. And that's because, like, she had told herself, it's going to be okay. It's all going to work out. And that completely changed everything. And so when she got back into the States, I called her again just to check on her. And she's like, I want to say thank you for being patient with me. Because she's like, what you said on our call, I realized that that's been my whole life with everyone. I've always been pushed to my limit, and I always responded with bitterness or anger. And now she's like, every time something comes at me and I tend to think negatively, I stop and think for a minute. And I don't do that anymore. And to me, that was huge because that's exactly like that orange juice, you know? Like, for so long, when she was being squeezed, all she could retaliate with were negative emotions. But now it's all these positive things. And I'm so happy that I helped her learn that, because I think it's really helped her in communication with my siblings and my dad, who is now her ex-husband. Like, things have started to shift for her. And so that's really all it takes for us too. We're all going to have hard days. We're all going to struggle within our business and within our lives. But honestly, if you have your core values and you really stay true to yourself, then the rest will fall into place. And instead of showing up and feeling icky for sharing a business or sharing these like health supplements, you're showing up as you because you genuinely care about people. So that's all I had to share. Thank you.
My goodness, Teresa, that was perfect and amazing. And I love the analogy of like the orange because it's so simple. And I don't know if you guys remember because I talked about something about chicken. Do you guys remember me talking about chicken foam a while ago? How like when you boil chicken, the fat boils and comes out and the foam comes up to the top. And you have the choice to either like skim it off the top or you can just stir it back in. And that reminds me of the same thing, like what comes out of you when you're put under pressure or under heat or in a trial or whatever. Because truthfully, like we all are going to go through hardships, right? But what comes out of you? And those are the things that you should notice. Like, do you quit when things get hard, when you're squeezed and you're under pressure? When you have setbacks, do you lose your patience more? Like, do you self-harm or self-shame, or what comes out of you? Or does service and love and compassion and growth, like we get to choose, and we get to choose what's inside. But that does take change, right? Like it's not just going to instantly happen. And so I love that analogy. And I love that you talked about courage. There's actually I want to share with you the meaning of courage. Okay. So the English word courage comes from the French word coeur. I don't know if I'm saying it right, which means heart. I thought that was interesting that you were saying a core value of yours is courage, because it kind of goes back to what I was saying too before you talked about of like you can't measure a person's heart, right? You can maybe measure their skill or whatever, but you can't measure the heart. And so it really goes hand in hand with like if you want growth, you have to have courage and you have to have heart. And it really matters what's inside of you. Because if right now you're in a hard time in your life or in your business, and what's coming out of you, like notice what's coming out of you, what ways are you responding to that? And that's something that you can develop and change that's within you. And I think it just goes hand in hand with everything that you said, so it was just perfect. But anyways, Jess, do you have a minute to share, or I know you're kind of busy today?
Hi guys. I've loved everything that has been shared. I am playing double duty today. I am working today, and normally today is not my working day. So I've been listening in, and Teresa, I'm like, let's just end the call. Like everything you shared was amazing, and it touched my heart for everything that I could listen to. And I appreciate you sharing last minute. Sometimes I think it's the last minute sharing, like being willing to share, are actually the most profound and beneficial for people. And so I really appreciate you doing that such last minute. And I really appreciate everything you shared. And I just kind of want to say a few things and then we can wrap it up. I know that it's summer and everyone's got kids on the loose. If you're a mom, you know exactly what I'm talking about. But I wanted to share this a few things about when Teresa had brought up courage and talking about that. Like it really has struck hard for me because I've looked in my own journey growing an Emerald team. I did not do it alone, and I did it with the courage of not just myself, but with my team and their courage, and doing it in fear and in scarcity and not knowing what the outcome was going to be, and maybe trying to go for a goal and being scared of not reaching that goal. How often do we do that? We set these intentions in our brain that we're going to reach some amount of points or try to go for a goal, or maybe an earnings that Plexus is offering, like an incentive, and we don't reach that. And so what do we do to ourselves? We tell ourselves that we aren't worthy of it, or why would I try? Or why even go for it if I already know that I'm not going to get it? Like we tell ourselves these stories. And I have thought over the last 4.5 years of going into an Emerald business that I'm like, no, it takes courage and scarcity and not failure, but learning and growth to get there. Not just growth within points or with my business, but growth with my mind. I have been having some deep conversation with some leaders on my team about leadership and growth and mindset work. And I will tell you right now, I feel that I am a good leader. There are times that I'm like, oh, I felt as a leader. Like even this morning when Teresa texted me, she's like, hey, I'm sharing today. And I'm like, oh my God, did we have that conversation? And I'm like digging through all my previous messages. And I'm like, oh my gosh, how did I miss this conversation with Teresa? I must have opened it when I was totally distracted, totally forgot that we had talked about it. And in my mind, I'm like, I am such a horrible leader. I said that to myself. I'm like, I failed Teresa as a leader. And then I thought to myself, no, I am learning as a leader, and I'm going to own my responsibility of taking accountability. And I did tell Teresa, did I not own my mistake? I'm like, oh my gosh, I totally missed these messages. And that's what I think makes this business as leadership. You can be a very good leader, but you can also have situations or experiences that help you learn and grow to become a better one. And so I had to take that just a minute in my mind that it is okay to not fail as a leader, but to learn so that I can grow to become a better leader. And I was telling Nicole this morning, I said, Nicole, I want to do what our leaders did for us from the very beginning when we started to really dig into getting on team calls, when we started to show up more consistently, when we started to post more. I want to do what our leaders did for us. And I want to challenge all of you guys to be on board with us. And I know it might sound scary, but I want you to know through the scarcity and having courage to do it, the people that you have in your funnel are going to see you as leaders and not me as a leader, or Nicole as a leader, or any of our upline jewels. They're going to see you as that jewel. Now your points are still trying to catch up to you, but I want you to start to step into leadership goal like levels and roles where you are leading a team call, where you are leading the 3-day reset, where you are being seen as the leader. And I want all of you to have that courage of when someone, when Nicole and I come into our team threads and say, hey, we need a leader to do the training, or we want leaders to run a 3-day group. Amanda, I don't know if you guys noticed this, but Amanda ran an entire day 1 of reset. She reached out to Nicole and I and said, I want to do this. And so we helped her provide with the content, and she took the whole day. Nicole and I did not post one piece of information in that group. I want the people that Amanda is putting into that group to see Amanda as the leader. I want Teresa to be putting her people in that group and seeing Teresa as the leader. They have no clue who I am. They might see my name kind of flash around on her social media, but I want all of you, everyone on this call is very capable to be seen as a leader. And I want to give you every opportunity to do that. We might be the ones providing maybe all the information. We might give you all the content, but I want to help you grow and be seen as a leader so that you can grow here and here. Because when you grow within your heart and your mind and your confidence in the business and the systems that we use within this organization, people are going to want to start to follow you. It's the law of attraction. If you are not being seen as a leader, they don't even know that you are leading a team. They don't know that you want to build a team. And that's what I want to do as a leader to you guys, is I want to give you those opportunities. So start like filtering in your mind what you're comfortable with and start there. If you're comfortable running a day in the reset group for July, I want you to message me right now and say, hey, I want a day. And Nicole and I will help you with all of the content. You can also create and put your own content in there. But I want you to run that day. If you're comfortable leading a team call or doing a training, like today, Teresa took the courage to do it today and it was amazing. And I want you guys all to have that opportunity. I want leaders, and I know leaders have done this, but I want you guys doing your own What is Plexus calls and inviting Nicole and I on them. But I want to see you guys as the leaders. I want your prospects to see you leading your team. And we're here cheering you on. We're here to help guide you and help give you the support and information you may need. But I really want to do this over the next 90 days. So for the next 3 resets, I want someone else running those days. We're going to be in there chiming in, replying to comments, helping with content, but we want you to run the entire day. And then between 3 leaders, that 3-day reset is covered. And you guys can ask some of your people to go live in that group. How awesome is that when Teresa, I know, has someone right now that has loved the reset and she has shared her feelings, that what she's loved and what she doesn't love. But this is Teresa's opportunity to say, okay, I'm going to run a group and I'm going to put my friend, you know who I'm talking about, Teresa, I'm going to ask her to go live in that group because she's already been doing lives in another group and she's killing it. That is a way to help Teresa be seen as the leader. And then it's going to help her level 1 be seen as well, and to share her story and to be more confident in her results and her product and start to capture that vision of what this business can do for her. So start thinking of some ideas of what you're comfortable with in leveling up your own leadership. Because as you level up, I know that's exactly what Nicole and I needed to not rely on our upline doing all of it. We kind of let go of Katie and Kimberly and Christy. We love them dearly, and I still get on their calls. I still do a lot of their trainings and their suggestions, but Nicole can agree with me on this. We kind of split and put our line down in the sand and said, we're doing this. We're going to link arms and we're going to start being seen as leaders. And I really, truly believe that happened roughly 3 months before Nicole's team went Emerald. And then 60 days later, my team went Emerald. And I think it was because we started to be seen as leaders and we were able to help our leaders see and feel that vision. So I want to duplicate that. I'm like, what are we missing? We know how to get to Emerald. We know how to build an Emerald team. How can I help my leaders who are all growing and showing up consistently? How can I help them reach Emerald capacity? How can I help them reach the next rank? I can do it, so I can help you do it. So what we're going to do is over the next 3 months, I really want volunteers, because I'm not going to chase you. That's one thing I tell like my leaders all the time. I'm not here to chase you. I'm going to run. And if you want to run with me, even if you have to be pushed in a stroller, let's do this. But I'm not going to chase you. So if you are ready to level up, I promise the points will start to follow, because these people that are under you, watching you do all these scary things, it's the law of attraction. They're going to be attracted to that, even if you're doing it so scared. And the nice thing about the 3-day reset is if you're doing and running one day, you guys, you don't even have to show your face. You're showing your name though, and all this awesome content that's already pre-prepped for you. So reach out to me if you're on my team, reach out to Nicole if you're on the outside leg of her team. We want to help you guys grow. We want to help you level up into leadership levels, and then those points are going to follow. So thank you so much, Nicole and Teresa, for an amazing team call today, you guys. Teresa, that was a huge level up for you, babe. And I'm seeing that in you. And I know that as you prioritize your business this summer, the points are going to follow, because I see your team members starting to love these products. So excited for all of you. I hope you all have a wonderful day, and we'll talk soon.